I want to welcome us on the second episode of this broadcast of the head of Directorate of State, Mazi Chike Doziem, and with me is Mazi Austin Chika to break down some of the points that were made in the broadcast by our head of Directorate of State, Mazi Chike Doziem. Uh, So as we all join, because I know that today offers great opportunity for us to have a very, very short conversation and also for our people to, our people to be heard. So we've decided to bring a second edition of the same program by pointing some of the issues raised and also give our people also the opportunity to call in and make their points known, because it's very, very important that we give our people this opportunity to call in. And so the number will be on the screen, by the way, for those who want to call in, so that we can have a very little conversation. Please, can you bring Mazi in Chika on board? Bring Mazi Chika on board so that, yes, Mazi Chika, you're welcome to the program. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, Mazi, thank you. Good evening from my location. Thanks so
Thank
much.
thank you very much, Mazi. I know it's quite tedious. How was Biafra land today, being on the ground? We've seen clips of sit at home and activities. The whole of Biafra land was shut down today. But from your own perspective, how was it in your area, in your vicinity? What was people's response to today's sit at home?
Well, today, I must tell you, today, everywhere in Biafran land was lock and key. The people complied, our people, complied, knowing too well that um, it is a tradition. That's why that IPOB spent a whole lot of time and resources to get our people prepared for it. But our people have gotten acquainted to it. It is settling our conscience and subconsciousness that it is just what it is for us to remember our heroes and heroes. So the Biafran land today was peaceful. Nobody was molested. Nobody was harassed. It was a voluntary, uh, you know, submission. The people, comply voluntarily, and I think it is what commending for.
Yes, there was a clip that I saw where the security forces, Nigerian Army and Police Joint Task Force were moving around in Mpo, somewhere in Mpo. Somebody made that video and posted it online, and it's like they were discussing among themselves, that this sit-at-home compliance is so effective. I saw the video clip circulating, and I think there is also an accident that happened in Owerri or thereabout, which is still under verification, um, where some people were allegedly murdered. I don't know. And these are part of the reasons we ask our people to respect today, because the spirit of our ancestors will be moving around the city. We've dedicated today to them, and they are going to take charge of the environment today. So anybody who steps out might fall victim of whatever circumstances, and IPOB is not to blame. Mazi, with the level of compliance, what message does it send? Because we've seen in the past where IPOB have been accused of enforcing sit at home.
Today's compliance, every stakeholder, um, especially from the Nigerian side, will agree with us that was 100% voluntary. Nobody was coerced into sitting at home. Nobody was threatened. In fact, the people observe it because our people have come into the realization that this is a tradition, uh, is worth doing. And of course, you should also remember or consider the fact that every day Nigeria keep on convincing our people that the decision of 1967 to 1970 was really the right decision ever made for them. So uh, the level of compliance, the peace that were recorded all over Biafran land shows that this is what our people want, and it also sends a signal to the peddlers of falsehood, those who always like twisting stories, you know because I must tell you, Maz, that this
I think Mazi Austin is having
have
breakup in
100%
transmission. Okay, go ahead.
peaceful sit at home. Nobody was threatened. There was no gunshot anywhere. People did it voluntarily. And I think it is an amazing thing.
Yes, Mazi
I,
Austin,
I,
let
I
us
don't know
look.
if you got what I said.
Yes,
Hello? Am I
yeah,
still coming out loud?
to a very, very, to a very large extent, to a very large extent, not minding that your line is a bit fluctuating. Now, let us look at the sit at home from a history point of view, because part of the reasons that history was abolished in the curriculum and in Nigerian schools is basically because of the the civil war experience, and the Nigerian authority or the Nigerian state is not ready to tell this story. But today, the sit at home and the remembrance day continue to form a kind of pointer to their face of that which they have been trying to escape, that which they have been trying to bury. So, Mazi, how do you think the Nigerian state is, how at some point do you think they are going to officialize this sit at home or accept it as a norm?
Well, anyway, all over the world, I want to also make reference from historical perspective. All over the world, people tend to start what they want, and government eventually comes in. Government coming in does not mean government might like what the people are doing, but owing to the fact they want to configure it to be suitable to what they want. So in this case, um, this is not the first time we are doing sit at home and we are getting government reaction at the state level, at the federal level. So to say, you would agree with me that in one of the 30th May Remembrance occasion, we had some states in Biafran land. Take for instance Anambra, where they hosted Ozemena. I don't know if you can recall. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they they hosted Ozemena, reminiscent to the 30th May remembrance that IPOB has been championing. And if you watch the idea of Ozemena, was government coming in trying to reconcile the people initiated program to their own choice. So if you ask, do I think government will come and make it a national day? Already state strike coming up to do something like that. But the truth remains, for the fact that the movement does not have that trust based on the antecedent of the state and her structures to say, okay, let us work in synergy to do that. That's why they just did the seminar thing within that time to win the heart of the movement. But remember, there is this skepticism that exists between the movement and the political leaders in our land. So you see that Ozemena syndrome or Ozemena mantra faded out. So government has tried to see how they could come in, especially the government at state levels. But the truth remains, the argument remains, how is it going to be wrong? Because IPOB own remains on, but the government side, if you look at what Anambra state government did some time ago, it's all about symposium. They are against it at home. They believe the members should come through some kind of workshop, symposium, lecture deliveries, and all this, which is in antithetical with what the movement, the methodology of the movement. So government had tried to come in time past, but the difficulties lies on method. Which method is going to be a consensus one?
Mazi Austin, are you there? Because we have a caller. We have fearless,
Sitting
the
at home
fearless
and respecting
evangelist.
the
Yes,
fallen
Mazi
hero
Austin. Yeah, Mazi Austin.
against
Your,
the,
your line
of
continues to.
course, the display
Mazi
of
Austin, your line continues to
symposium,
fluctuate.
lecture deliveries, and the what have you, Maz. I'm here.
Yeah, Mazi
I'm
Austin,
still
your line
I'm here.
continues to
Go ahead.
fluctuate. Let's take the first caller,
I'm here.
the
Go
fearless
ahead.
evangelist. Hello, fearless evangelist.
But I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, we are taking the first caller, Mazi Austin. Just stay on. Fearless, can you? You're welcome to the program.
Okay. Good evening, Umuchineke, around the world. Thank you, Mazi Austin, for the very analysis. Thank you, Mazi Ikem Patrick. Thank you, BTV crew. And we thank Biafrans all over the world for remembering, honoring, and celebrating our fallen heroes. Today, truly, it was people that was coming, telling people that today sit at home was the highest, until you go out. You go out, the person will tell you that you will not see a motorcycle, you will not see anybody on the road. You see, one thing with IPOB sit at home is that it wasn't our starting point to remember our fallen heroes through sit at home. It was federal government of Nigeria through their army, SSE force, and the sheer killings of IPOB family member on the 29th night through 30th May 2016 in Ipob. even inside the church. They don't care, which they can never do in the mosque of anywhere in Nigeria, but the church was invaded. That is why IPOB brought sit at home as a child of necessity, that we must remember our people, and also a means to save lives instead of assembling for Nigerian state to massacre us. In 2014 in Enugu, there was no violence, there was no ESN, there was nothing, there was no sit at home. It was celebrated in Ugudinso in Enugu. 2015, it was in Aba. We gathered. The police was parking at front of a CKC, no violence, no nothing, no ESN, nothing. We gathered. 2016, they came and they massacred us. There was no reason because there was no violence in 2014, 2015. Because before you take such action in 2016, you must have your reason. You will say that 2015 was violence, so why should they gather again? But it had been going smoothly. So after they have done this one, we resorted to sit at home. The sit at home is a civil disobedience, which we reach the people. You know, IPOB does not run government in exile, but we are communicating the people. Because government in exile communicates with the people. But the people that tell us about government in exile does not communicate with the people without gun, without harassment. Now, we reach the community leaders, we reach religious leaders, we reach the school management, reach the market leaders civilly. Then, and we openly announce it. And the people know it is their duty just to notify them, to know that people are championing it. People must champion it. And we are championing it, IPOB is championing it, and our people have seen it as a duty. There is something we use this very sit at home to do. There is something we use it to do. You know, in our land, in our agitation, we does not go after the government on confrontation, not even our politician in our land. We have never confronted anybody, not even the governors, as people expected, not even because we are fighting under self-determination. But we see the Nigerian government as people that are forcibly occupying our land. Now, for us to prove it to the world, through this very civil disobedience, when they call us non-state actors, then and that our leaders are in abroad. But they will give this very order, the people will obey without enforcement. That is to prove to the world that the Nigerian government, both the governors from our side, under the Nigerian state, are forcibly occupying our land. Because even their army and police are invaders in our land. They have never been in any community and does not victimize everybody. Immediately they come, they tell you they come for an operation, everybody becomes criminal. Everybody must go through torture because they are invaders. They see our land as a land to conquer, a land that has been conquered, or a land that should be desolated. So what we show them to the world is that our people do not believe in Nigeria. That is one thing sit at home shows to them, though they are ruling part of our land politically, but our people do not believe in Nigeria. Because if we believe in Nigeria, we will listen to the army and go to our businesses. We will listen to the governor or commissioner of police and go to our businesses or IG of police. But we will listen to IPOB, even as the Nigerian government prescribed IPOB illegally in Nigeria. Our people still obey IPOB because the position of IPOB is to distance our people from IPOB and to demonize them. But unfortunately to them, they were crying in 2014 that people should stop listening to IPOB, the same people they prescribed 2017. They say that people are not joining army because they are listening to IPOB. That is to prove to them that these people are completely in charge of their land and their people are with them irrespective of the political situation in Nigeria. Again, our people who have fought for us and secure this land and secure us today, they secured us with their last blood. The reason why IPOB demand, more reason why IPOB demand for referendum, one of the reasons again is that the operation of the Nigerian state, Nigerian army in our land, the 67 to 70, does not show that they wanted to win Ojukwu and rule the land. No, they came to our land to desolate our land. The mission was desolate the land. Because in a war, it does not bombard the church, does not bomb the school, it don't bomb the hospital, it don't bomb the market, it don't bomb the IDP camp. You go after the opposition or the government like Ojukwu that stood, right? If you win them, then the civilians will be your captive or you'll be your subject. You will rule them as you like. But these very people who claim today that they are ruling here or they want here to be part of Nigeria, their mission was to desolate the land. And our fathers stood up and said, no, this place cannot be desolate. Now, the question now is, who do they want to rule? Is it the same people they have planned to desolate? Unfortunately, some people stood up and our God helped and saved us. Don't you know that it is in our duty to decide if we can be part of Nigeria, because their mission here wasn't war, it was genocide of desolation, not just a desolation of the land and take over the land. So we cannot continue in Nigeria without a re-registration of enslavement through referendum or being free from the enslavement through referendum. So Mazi, I have to stop here. If they still need me to contribute more, you can still bring me in.
Yeah,
This is what I have to give here. Thank you.
definitely. We're also going to take more calls for those who want to call in. The number is on the screen, plus 3938817796665. So you can always call in as the conversation proceed. Mazi Fearless. Now, let me go to Mazi Austin Chika. Like I said, Nigeria have been trying to run away uh, from the Biafran story, that is part of the reason the curriculum was, history was removed from curriculum, because they feel ashamed to present the atrocity of the Biafran genocide in the history book. So, with this kind of regular reminder of the atrocity uh, of the Nigerian state against Biafra people, Mazi Austin, what effect, if this trend continues consistently, do you think is going to have a long effect on the state of the nation? Anyway, Nigeria is not a nation, because calling Nigeria a nation is like, you know.
that
So
that is definitely what I
I
wanted to
have,
contend with
I
you
have to
now.
take, I have to take it back. I have to take that back.
Yeah.
By the way, yes. So go ahead.
Okay, Mazi, it is going to have a very long effect. You know, I always point to historical references because nothing we are doing today that has never been done by people of the past, and we are not also going to be the last people to do what we are doing today. Invariably, people after us will still be, pushing elsewhere or in any part of the world. Mazi, there was a time that the Jews forgot their history, they forgot the pains, the subjugations they experienced from the Roman Empire. And remember, when you talk about Roman Empire, you're talking about European Empire. There was a time the Jews forgot at a time a certain generation of the Jewish lineage felt that, oh, because we refuse to remind our successful generations are not domesticating in Europe. Because at that time we are talking about, Jews lost the history of their genealogy. They settled in Europe. They felt they were originally from Europe and they moved on. But remember, there is no how a settler or a visitor will, no matter the age, he exists in a particular community. The history of the fact that he or his ancestors were visitors or settlers or strangers can never be removed in the mind of the host people. You get what I'm saying? So when these Jews felt, oh, they were okay, they have now integrated, they started living as if they were parts of European society. Until when it get to the time that Europeans reminded them, look, you are not indigenously part of this society. And Nazism came in, they started looking for where we are doing today is more powerful than drums of bullets. Because each time we do something like sit at home, especially 30 generation and the successful generation, that there was a time your ancestors were hated deeply, killed against international observations and conventions on war. That all those conventions, international laws on wars were disregarded. Excessive brutal is everywhere locked down. What are our people doing? What is actually going on? And somebody will tell them today is a Biafran's day. And he will ask, what is Biafra? Why are everywhere locked and keyed? Then someone else will explain better. And because of that information, it guides the child, it guides the particular individual on economic decision, political decision, and other related decisions. Very, very important. So what we are doing today is what every reasonable nation had done or is doing to their people. You must have this consciousness to always sing it to the ears of your generation that something at so time happened that almost threatened the entire nation. So, Mazi, the efficacy of what we are doing today cannot be overemphasized. That is what I have to say.
Thank you, Mazi Austin. We are still waiting for calls. We are still waiting for calls to come in for those who want to make their contribution. We are giving our people an exclusive opportunity this evening to express themselves after the head of Directorate of State broadcast. Mazi, we saw how the head of Directorate of State, Mazi Chikedozie, read out events.
Mm.
Yes, how he read out events, from 1945 down to recent killings of Biafrans and massacre of Biafrans. Kind of reminder in history, and also to put it back in our memory that what is happening today is not new to us, that it has been happening even before we were born, many of us. Mazi Austin.
Yes, I listened to that wonderful historical and chronological arrangement of fact of history, so to say. Mazi Chikadibia Edoziem really gave a very wonderful chronological presentation of a historical reality. In fact, while I was listening to him, in fact, I baffled at the level of, you know, making such chronological presentations. But one thing I singled out in everything that had happened to our people, I always ask this question. It happened in 1945. What action did we take to make sure it never reoccurred again? Did it happen and we call it an act of God and slide into laxity and passivity? Then, because we did not take any proactive measures, it happened in 50s. The census killings, the pogrom, and of course we felt it is an act of God for us to be killed. Because we never take any drastic measure to curtail reoccurrence of that. In 60s, it happened. And because in 60s, some people stood up and said, no, we are going to fight. And since then, people began to be cautious. But from 60 to, I think, the year 1999, the year 2000, when the Apple killings, the killing of 6 vibrant Biafran youths in Apple in Abuja, you also find that when that also happened and the people reacted, they also slided. But the question we should ask ourselves today, these guys who were repeatedly killing us, are they doing that out of fun, or they are doing it with ulterior motive of exterminating us, forcing it into extinction? Because when somebody repeatedly unleash death on you, it means he wants you to go into extinction. So, what the head of the Directorate of State presented today is a wonderful historical reminder to each and every one of us that when we talk about the killings, the pogrom, the right abuses, that it predates the contemporary times. As far back as 1945, they had started unleashing hell on us. So, history is there to remind us a lot of things we do not know. At least tonight, I have been privy to know that the killing does not start today. And you don't expect it to stop tomorrow when you're sharing the same contraption with the killers. Because, in as much as you do not have a power of a state, talking about a sovereign state, you have a limit at which you can protect yourself. So, we must do everything to find a lasting solution to this threat, extermination threat. And I see no lasting solution to that other than getting out of the terrible union called Nigeria, Maz.
Yes, Mazi Austin, considering the fact that we've been victims even as early as in the mid 40s, but we still have some of our people who stood and fought for independence, and they never thought it wise to use that opportunity to separate themselves from from the entire contraption, because I remember that in 1954 that when Enahoro moved the motion, that the northern region said they weren't ready for independence, that the rest of the south can have their independence while they, put that into consideration. Mazi, do we say that we also have to share some of the blame? Do we say that we also have to share some of the blame to have consistently attach ourselves to our killers? Because in 1954, when the motion for independence was moved, the southern protectorate had the opportunity to have taken their independence and gone their way, but we still insisted that we want to mingle with the North, and we all know that the North have been the hotbed of these criminal activities against us. Do we still have to share the blame of our own victimization to a large extent?
Yes, Mazi, to a large extent, we have to also take responsibility of our plight as a result of being slow in understanding the matrix. Yes, we have to take that responsibility because um, I believe you at the early stage of decolonization, a lot of those who championed for Nigerian independence were mainly Biafran scholars who were privileged to study overseas. And when they got back, they wanted to, they were fooled into this political mainstream ideology, Pan Africanism, having a larger a black African nation, those kind of, what will I call it? Mainstream ideas.
Hold on, caller.
So, in course of trying to please and domesticate external philosophies, political philosophies, that let us have a large black African nation. The mantra, the Pan African mantra. In course of trying to do that, they ended up undoing themselves internally. The likes of Zeke was trying to be a hero at the level of Pan Africanism, having a vast black nation. And of course, they were also short sighted because today Nigeria has proven that those who champion for one Nigeria at the earlier stage, that they were all short sighted with no apology and no exception. There, Maz.
Mazi, thank you very much. We have a caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to the program. Good evening.
Mazi, thank you so much. I bless Elohim that have given us this ability to, achieve what we have done so far, despite the years and the effort and the, commitment and the, trials that we have faced. But that shows that we are heading somewhere, and what we are facing is more value than anything that we might have lost. And I'm not saying that because, the people that have died and all the losses that we have gotten is not much. But I'm telling every one of us that the price, which is the restoration of Biafra, is more value than anything. As they say that necessity is the mother of invention. This very main part with Heroes Remembrance has been very, very, prolific, and it's cut across so many issues, and so many things that finds us that emanate from this very May 30th, like our living heroes, involvement, and what's happened based on the compliance really show that every Tom, Dick, and Harry have understand what we are saying. Just as I said that necessity is the mother of invention. Nigeria gives us no choice, gives us no any other option than to seek the restoration of Biafra, because that is only where we can be able to be saved. And when my brother Shika Austin and the fearless IP was talking, he said that even the zoo itself, the Nigerian state, or whatever I call it, because Nigeria is not, nobody is a Nigerian. It's just a mere geographical expression which the British established in order to enrich themselves. But it is very, very shameful that at this very time, it's almost 100 years and counting, the British is not yet, satisfied with all their looting and the killing and misery that they have brought to us. If we start talking about their involvement and their evil, we will not go from here today. But what I was saying is that the Nigerian state and their allies, their counterparts, are very shameful of their deeds. That is why when you talk about the curriculum, the history involvement in our schools and in other places, is not there, because what the Nigerian state did to us is unimaginable. After killing people and you franchised them, you connected all their belongings. You killed and you don't even have there's you don't have, it's just randomly that you killed and even killed sucklings. You even killed staff 2 million plus children. Where is it being done? You're fighting a war, which you say is a war of bringing us back to Nigeria, and you're bombing hospitals, bombing schools, bombing church, bombing field, farm field. These are, unimaginable things. And I don't know why the war allowed Nigeria to still, function. Just look at even the way they went as a commando style, went to Kenya and kidnapped Magoman, breaking all, international laws. And yet nobody talks about it. The UN doesn't talk about it. The EU doesn't talk about it. America that says they are the police and the holders of protector of democracy, they don't talk about it, and they are there waiting for 2027 in order to install another clown that will enable them to continue their endless cycle of stupidity and looting and misery. But the state that we are now, it is a state of the devil and the deep blue sea. That is why this very May 30th, it is a very it's like when you have toiled, when you have labored, when you have run, when you have done a lot, you sit back and have reflection. And I thank Elohim that because there is an adage in our words that say that na ndị mmụọ rie aja nwatakịrị ha tinye ọnụ n'okwu ya. You can see from everything that happened that our ancestors have heard, Chukwukabrema have heard, and the land and the people are with us. Everybody complied. Even to my greatest surprise, on my place of work or business, I never imagined that somebody that I never thought, you see them be going, you think that they don't know what is happening. The person told me that he will not be coming out on social media. I now say, why? He said, a man and a may heroes remember. I shouted. So you see some certain things you might be doing, sometimes you might be doing things and thinking that people are not observing. That is why consistency is the key. And that is why any one of us that is hearing my voice, in as much there are, distraction and all of those things, we have been trained physically, spiritually, intellectually, in confronting every manner of, manipulation from the pit of hell or from Nigerian government. You see, when our sister went, our sister Neka went to, this Enugu where the army went to bomb people's house. You see how they stone out that destruction, telling us I'm 19 years, 20, and all of those things. These are the antics of the government. But you are not dealing with kids. You are dealing with people that have, learned. We have learned how the Western world manipulates us. We have learned even how Nigeria have been, using all kinds of ants to, keep us where we are. And we can no longer be here because the time we are into now is very, very, it is slime. The Fulani terrorists are in every areas of the zoo. And by this very establishment called zoo, they will succeed. That is why we must stand up with our head high to do the needful and follow this very leadership which Elohim have used to bless us. I'm telling you, without this very leadership, without IPOB, without all this blood that have spared, people standing up without minding the consequences, died in Ipob, died in Aba High School, in several places, even the recent killing that they did in order to dent or bring IPOB to be, violent or criminal organization. People have paid the ultimate price. That is why this very sacrifice can never, ever go in vain. Mazi, I thank you in order to
thank you very much. Thank you for calling in, Mazi.
Without this place, there is no place we can express our pain, our sorrow, our displeasure of the Nigerian state. May Elohim bless the leadership and also grant them more wisdom, because the state we are entering now, will be very, very, tough. But I know that Elohim, who have sent us in this very wonderful work, will give us the strength to, to see it through. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, so Mazi Chika Austin. So this our brother raised some points and very, very interesting one. I don't know if you're there or you're muted. Are you there?
Yes, Maz, go ahead. Please repeat
Yes.
what you said.
With what is happening in Nigeria today, uh, without IPOB awareness, do you think our people would have had a direction? With what is happening, the killings, the terrorism we've seen in the Yoruba land, the West, what is going on, and we believe that at some point it is going to come down fully in our region. Without IPOB awareness, do you think our people will be able to have a grasp of understanding of what is going on?
Maz, your question is not does not need a long trip to fetch the answer. The answer is just simply no. No, absolutely no. Let me tell you this, that the only thing that is keeping us from being rounded up currently is the presence of Eastern Security Network and the M branch intelligence gathering. Without it, who is going to defend the land? How do you think, what is that thing federal government will do in defense of the land that they can't do to the region of the president? I'm talking about the Yoruba land. What do you think the federal government will do to protect the land that they could not do in northern region that have the highest number of military personnel? You get what I'm saying, Mazi?
Yes.
So, if despite the Yorubas producing the current president of the country, yet Yoruba land is already rampaged by this heartless beast, then why do you think federal government will commit our resources to protect a section of the country that does not even produce the president or key players in the political corridor? If the federal government could not even protect Katsina, as I speak to you, a former spokesperson of Nigeria Army was kidnapped today in Katsina. If the federal government could not even put her mind to protect Katsina, that have produced, I think, 2 or 3 presidents of Nigeria, is it the Southeast? Is it Biafran land? The only savior we have currently is not the politicians who will use their valuable private jet and leave. Probably we will be watching what is happening. The pool of blood. They'll be watching it from Europe or America or wherever they find themselves with their families. The only savior we have as a commoners is the presence of Eastern Security Network. And that's why it hurts me a lot. Either by commission or omission, our people want to undermine the only front that the Fulanis fear. They don't fear the police because they know that the police mobilizing at the point of attacking them, they will have order from above
They are even
asking them.
working. They are even working with the security forces. They are
They
they
will
are
have order from
colluding with it.
above to say
Yes.
retreat. The same thing goes to army. The same thing goes to other security agencies. The only platform and formation that does not take such nonsense is ESN. And that's why they are doing everything possible to destroy IPOB, to destroy ESN, so that they can have a free ride on our land. But God leave it. That is not going to happen.
Thank you, Mazi Austin. We have a caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to the program. We'll be rounding up very soon. We'll be rounding up this program. Caller, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mazi Patrick Ikem. I would like to add my voice according to the question that you asked Mazi Austin regarding if we have a shared name to what happened to us in 1945, the killings, and why our leaders then did not, have a routine before trying to emerge together with the northern, Fulani leaders here to establish the Nigerian state. The fact is that it is true that we have a shared blame because then the real background check to understand uh, what exactly is obtainable if we live together with people who has no uh, who do not have the same cultural background with us, who do not share a same religion with us, who has different kinds of understanding that we do not share together with. This is where we failed. And when these things were happening, this killing that started in 1945, 1948, and 1953, and so on. Then we didn't even, our leaders then didn't even come up with a kind of resistance, a formal resistance that will be like, just like as we have instant security network now, that will be like, look, when you kill our people up there in the north, we will show you that there is a way that we can also pinch you, that we also pay you too. There was nothing like that. So it was a wrong move by our leaders, especially the likes of Nanda Azikiwe, who was pushing for a bigger nation, one Nigeria, a Pan-Africanism, just like a Mazi Czechoslovakian reference. It was a very big mistake because I think I remember that I read that Mazi Mbonejike was also warning Nnamdi Azikiwe then never to push that one Nigeria of a thing, that we should be able to find a way to fight for our own separate freedom, for a separate entity, but he never listened. Look, I want to point out what happened to India, between India and Pakistan during their journey for freedom. Pakistan and India sat down on the table to be able to negotiate whether if they can be able to live as one nation, But what happened to them is that they sat down and said, okay, what are we going to use as a national religion of this country? But they found out that they cannot coexist because India itself, some part of India itself, does not want
Because
India
they do
to
not
look
because they do not share the same value system. Very
they do
straightforward
not
and
share the
simple.
same values.
Yes.
They do not share the same value system. The Pakistani side believe in Islamic religion, while the Indian part believe in
In
Hinduism.
Hindu.
So
In
they
Hindu,
decided,
yes.
okay, yes. So they decided, okay, since it's this way, go our separate ways. Let us go our separate ways, and there will be peace. And this is the reason why India and Pakistan had their independence declared their independence on the same day.
And I also think I think it's also born out of the sincerity of the heart. Because if you are sincere enough to tell yourself the truth that we do not share the same value system, it shows a people who understand the importance of what they want for themselves. But unfortunately, in our own case, we don't even know what we want for ourselves until up till this moment that the emergence of IPOB, is beginning to now shape the mind of our people. Just like we talked about Nnamdi Azikiwe, these are people who, in their own parochial view, have pushed their own personal agenda. Because one thing with our people is that when you have your personal agenda, you force it down the throat of every other person to accept whatever you feel that will favor you at that particular moment, because they do not see beyond. They do not see the future. Caller, I want to say thank you so that I'll be able to take in more calls. I want to be able to take in more calls.
Exactly, man. Exactly, man. I just wanted to round up by saying this. You see, our governors, they failed to do what the Yorubas did, okay? The Yorubas took the opportunity because when they noticed that the oligarchies didn't want them to take power in Nigeria, they decided to introduce the OPC, the Oduduwa People's Congress, led by Gani Adams, okay? We show them that, look, if you don't give us opportunity for us to, take position in Nigeria, we will start, agitation to separate from Nigeria. You understand? This is one of the reasons why that Nigerian government decided, okay, see, instead of you trying to, play the Biafran game, trying to raise a flag and all that, let us, give a listening ears and with what happened in Abiola issue and all that. So, look, our eastern region, the politicians in the eastern region has never for a one try to raise up resistance against this Fulani oligarchy.
Maz is all about personal interest. It's all about personal interest, and that is part of the things we must also checkmate in the course of our struggle, because this personal interest is inherent in us. Is inherent in us, and that is why we must be able to work very hard to defeat that trait that we have, even as we fight for Biafra restoration. Maz, I want to say thank you very much for that contribution, so that I'll be able to take in more calls. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Maz Justin, are you there? I have series of callers. I want to see the one that came first. Let me see if I can take this caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to the program. Good evening. You have just 3 minutes, so that I'll be able to take more calls. 3 minutes, please.
Okay, good evening, Mazi, Ethan, Patrick, and Chikos. Tonight, are you able to hear me?
100%. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say small something concerning the scraping of history, the curriculum of this zoo or Nigeria, or whatever they call it. So, but I want to also say something there. The fact that they removed the history from the curriculum, they went through the backbone to add their own history, but with a camouflage. How? When I was in school, in university and secondary school, because I studied history in secondary school, but I found out that they don't tell more of our story. You understand? So they take more of their own story, because everything will be hearing is Fulani. Or if they don't tell you about Fulani, they will be telling you about other countries.
Yes, of course, some of us study the history we study is about Scotland and Britain. History of Scotland and Britain. Yes.
Exactly. Then when you come to university, then when I studied GS, I noticed something. So they will not call it history or whatever, but they call it cultural whatever as a topic, as a general studies. Now, when they come and introduce each tribe history, when they come to Igbo side, they'll be telling you about all the varieties that you won't even add to anything. But when it comes to Fulani, I found out that they tell us more about Fulanis Not even Hausa. They don't even talk about Hausa because they will camouflage with Hausa Fulani. You understand? And when during the exam, they ask us more Fulani question.
Yes,
Than they
no,
ask
no,
us
Mazi, you are 100% right. The only history that we're taught that is outside the Fulani history is the Boronu Empire, the history of the Boronu Empire and all that. And then,
Exactly.
yes, so you also have the Fulani history and the Ottoman Danfodio and all that. There was, all through my study of history, I would never study the history of the Igbos, Igbo people of Nigeria or whatever. A little bit of Arochukwu, history, but not profound, not that deep, you know.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I just to round it up with this. Most of our people, it's just because I'm informed or have knowledge of what they are doing. That is why I notice all these little details. Most of our people don't know that these things are psychological. You understand? They are not after you thinking maybe is not a big deal, but they don't understand that it's psychological. It's a psychological game they are playing on us. You understand? So our people should be paying attention to little details that we detect our history. You understand? So thank you. That's just what I
Thank you
want to
very
add.
much. That is the
You
more
understand?
reason we have to fight to take our destiny in our hand. Because,
Exactly.
yes, because it is he who controls your education system that controls your destiny. That is the truth of the matter. Thank you very much for that contribution. Mas Justin, are you there? I want to take in
Yeah,
more calls. Let me see if I can take this call, possibly from the US. I don't know. Let me call back and see if they can respond. And as we round up, because we're rounding up, I think we spent a very good time. Mazios, hello. Hello, caller. You called in earlier. This is Big TV Europe. You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, hi, Nancy. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, how are you? And how is Nancy Austin? Is it still there?
Yeah, Mazi Austin is live with us.
yeah. Good evening
Oh,
from here.
Nancy, yeah, Nancy Austin. Good evening. I just want to thank all of you for what you're doing. Nancy Austin, I watched your engagement with the Biafran veterans today, and actually, the 94-year-old caught my attention, actually. It is a thing of joy to know that they have not given up. They're still hopeful to know that what they fought for is actually going to come alive at some point. And that was very, very empowering to watch, to listen to him, and how polished his English and everything is, how, very, very vibrant his voice still remains. And I was cracking up also when he said, oh, when you need teachings or something like that, you can call me to, teach. That was so wonderful. Like, so why am I talking on this? These are the things that actually makes us understand that news like this is very important, because when they see that there are people who remembers, people who never forgot, people who appreciates what they did, what they went through, it actually is a consolation and an encouragement and a thing of pride to them. So whoever doesn't understand the significance of what this day means actually doesn't really pay attention to history, or it kind of self hate in some kind of way. So I actually thank God, and I thank every Biafran out there who went out, both the people in Biafra land and those in diaspora that actually came out and made a lot of noise, so that the whole world was once again reminded that, even though the Nigerian government and those that are working for are actually trying to relegate us to the background, but we are not going to be relegated to the background. We are that seed that constantly multiplies, irrespective of how much anyone tries to kill us or to exterminate us from the face of the earth. So I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank Mazi, the directorate, the head of directorate. I want to thank Mazi Chinatsa and all that they've been doing, and those in the Directorate of State for holding forth, even in the midst of all the blackmails, all the bashing, all of the lies and all the concoctions that has been going on on the social media. And I want to especially also thank Lola Uchichi. I also listened to her today, and honestly, she is such an awesome woman to go through what she's going through, and she's standing on the right path and also standing strong. I just pray that God will continue to keep her safe, keep her protected, and give her reason to laugh last, in front of all the people that the enemy has been using, trying to malign her and her personality. So Mazi, thank you so much. And one
Thank
more
you
thing,
for
I want to thank Mazi, the one that called before. I think it was the first caller,
yes, the
evangelist.
fearless evangelist. Yes,
He is such a, oh my goodness. I I don't even know how to thank him. I just want to thank every single one of you. You guys are actually, for me personally, you guys are the ones that when I listen to and when I watch your antecedents, it actually gives me, more hope and the strength to keep supporting in my little way. Thank you so much, everyone.
thank you for the call. Thank you. We really appreciate you too, Mazi
Thanks for the
Austin.
call. Thanks for the call.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes. Mazi Austin, we've seen calls and the people calling in to air their views as regards to also our history and how the history is being taught in school. Very, very deceptive, not a complete one. Cut and join history of the Nigerian curriculum. And, so you find out that it's very, very imperative that we have to fight to be in charge of our destiny, to be able to create a proper academic institution that can not just teach our people the right history, but also develop our mind to be able to meet up with global standard of education and productivity. Mazi will be rounding up. Uh, Give us your take as we round up. Yes.
Yeah, what you just said, Mazi, is what it is. I always say I studied history in the universities and in Nigeria University, as a matter of fact. And I must tell you that what you have there is more of individual perceived history, not a history of consensus. It's not a history you say it is born out of research. This is something somebody thought his assumption. I could remember I had a serious issue with one of my lecturers back days in the school when we were learning on a topic, Nigerian Civil War. That was third year course, Nigerian Civil War, and Professor Enemugwem, that is the lecturer that was handling the course that time. So while we are discussing about the Nigerian Civil War, we got to area we now want to talk about the actors in the war, and he made a very funny statement that the Ojukwu led the war because he wanted to be a president. He was desiring to be a president. And I could remember vividly then when I subjected his prepositions into, you know, hypothesis, or should I say stages of arriving at result. It was full of flaws and a lot of disjointness, disagreement.
Mazi, that was a beer parlor gossip.
Yeah, so
A professor bringing a beer parlor gossip into the
exactly,
classroom to form
exactly.
part of history,
In
which is
fact, as a
pathetic.
matter as a matter of fact, I and him had some altercations, in respect to that, because he couldn't convince me academically on how he arrived on that submission. And anyway, eventually he began to publish books. And guess what? All the things he compiled in his book publications as a professor were mainly Google work. He goes to Google, print out what he saw on Google, and feast. That's how terrible it was. So, okay, could imagine all my classmates and probably our predecessors and our successors were already fed with these fable narratives, and they went into society peddling such falsehood. You can now see the danger they have constituted in the larger society. That's exactly what is happening in this part of the world. The worst part of individuals are handling intellectual issues. They are handling what they have no business coming close to. So when people talk about history in Nigeria is more of individual opinion. I could remember I read some European historians, scholars like E.H. Carr, you know, and all the rest of them, well-known European scholars. They will always tell you that every historical submission passes stages of questioning. You subject it into critical questions before you arrive. And before it must arrive, there must be a consensus. But in Nigeria, this is where somebody, because you have a resentment against a people, you just come out and start writing rubbish. Just like somebody who published book recently was supposed to be one of the renowned historical materials regards to the Civil War. But he ended up rubbishing it by telling us that the soldiers were shooting trees. You know, these are just how funny when people say there is a historical learning in this part of the world. It's quite unfortunate, Maz.
Unfortunately, they are putting these lies on books and that is why it's important that we dispute it and discredit them so that the next generation will know that the history that is being put out there is not the right history. Rather, these are narratives that are formed to suit certain interests and also to for them not to take responsibility in their role in the criminality and because obviously the book that Gowon wrote was just a book that he wrote to suit and the narrative and exonerated himself. He never took any responsibility in all of the. I haven't actually read the book, but from the little we've seen, he just keep on dodging. He just keep on pushing the blame without taking any form of responsibility. So does it mean that every decision go on took pre and post war we are all 100% right? Mazi Austin, I don't know, but I doubt. You cannot have a perfect decision, especially in a time where you have to handle such crisis under pressure. There was no time that Gowon actually said he made that things he would have done differently. These are things I would have done differently. So you see that these people have chosen not to be sincere with their stories and the history they are presenting to the world, all in the bid to cover up. And you cannot write history that way. When you write a history trying to cover your shame, trying to cover your mistakes, running away from responsibility, such history is not the right history and is not a complete history and should not be taken seriously. Mas Justin, I think we have to start winding down. We spent a very quality time. I want to encourage Biafra. We listen to the head of Directorate of State and the things that he said. He marshaled out point and also give us direction to follow for the future as IPOB continue to move in the direction of institutionalization, we are going to also see new policies being put in place and new constitutions being put in place because we can no longer operate on an obsolete chapters that we've had 10 years ago. Mazi Austin, I think it is time we also have to upgrade for the fact that the Biafra struggle have passed series of stages. It is important that we move to be able to meet up with the trend of time. Mazi Austin, what is your opinion in this regard before we close?
Well, life is all about evolution. Uh, Austin, as an individual, I'm evolving. That's why who I was 5 years ago is not the same with who I am today. So it is in a movement. If people are not open to evolution, it means they must be open to death. Any movement that is not open to evolution is open to death. And I think it's on that premise that we must understand the contemporary dynamics, the reality of today, and do everything. Remember, we have not attained a state status. We are still working towards achieving a state status. And on that note, we must be very, very dynamic to understand as much as we can the trajectory at which things are moving and do everything within our own power to configure to that very reality, Maz. Ndewo.
Thank you very much. There is another point I still want to raise very, very briefly. With what is happening, you see that people are also aligning themselves, institutions, individuals are aligning themselves with what IPOB do in the cause. So it goes a long way to show you that when you present a viable template and the people find it, viable, they won't have any other choice than to align themselves with it. The sit at home, for example, to a very, very large extent, 100% compliance, it shows that people are aligning themselves with with the new reality because they think they believe and they know that the cause is worth fighting for. And that is the reason it is important that institutionalization of IPOB would, would be affected at some point. Yes, people might not understand, but I believe that with time, they will start aligning themselves, especially when they start seeing the positive result that he used and also seeing the future that he presents, that the institutionalization of IPOB is the way forward to be able to sustain the struggle and be able to deliver on the pursuit that we have engaged ourselves in. Mazi Austin, do you have the last word or do we just have to round it up?
Well, I want to thank every single one of us that observed today's program, most especially the leadership. And of course, Mazi Patrick, I want to also seize this opportunity to thank you immensely. You have really been active despite the stress, the difficulties. You have been up there to keep this platform moving. I want to also thank even Rapture Media and everyone who are working assiduously, those before camera and behind camera. I want to say good night to our great listeners.
Thank you very much, Mazi Austin. I really also appreciate you for your contribution. It's my pleasure, even though I called you at the last minute to appear on this program, but you took your time to honor it. I want to say thank you very much for coming. So I want to say, Biafrans, I want to say thank you. I will continue to say thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for remaining steadfast. Tomorrow we'll be having our IPOB regional program on Twitter. If you are not on Twitter, make sure by 5 p.m., I believe it's 5 p.m. Biafra time. I stand to be corrected. Tomorrow, Sunday. So I urge you to join this program. Very, very, it's an interesting program. IPOB Regional Affair on X, former Twitter. Very important. Try to be part of it. Come and make your contribution. Come and be heard. Come and bring in your questions. Come and participate, because I believe we would also be dealing with 30th May and some other issues as regards to the Biafra struggle. Until I see you again, I want to say thank you, and I remember Mazi Ikem Patrick DK. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless you all.